Now I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my car. Wherever I choose to go, it won't take me far. I'm living my life like it's golden, 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 living my life like it's golden. Hey y'all, what's good? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone is having a great weekend, well rested and prepared for the week. Monday is steadily approaching, fast approaching, and I hope you guys are ready for it. I am rested. I got my homework done. I am finishing up some laundry. I already made dinner. And so I am now ready to get this video underway because you guys will not let me deviate from Daryl Brooks content whatsoever. So we're going to talk about him a little bit today. I did try to find, wait, let me back up. Let me thank the 233 subscribers that I have. Thank you very much, everyone, for engaging, liking, sharing, commenting with me, interacting with my videos. I do appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. We are going to be talking about a little bit of Daryl Brooks, and I tried to find some things that I hadn't already seen being covered. I do always try to find content that's new to us or just try to add a different perspective. So I did find two articles that I wanted to read, and then I did find a video that I don't think anybody has talked about, or at least I haven't seen them talk about. So I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to share the screen so we can go over this article. Um, so give me 1 second. All right. So this article is from the perspective of two spectators from the parade. This article is on behalf of the Milwaukee Journal. The author of the article is Mark Johnson. It was written November 27th, 2021, and it is titled The Blood, the CPR, the Dead, a moment to moment account of the Waukesha Christmas parade that turned into tragedy. Now, let me just preface by saying this. I'm going to try to take my time reading this. I know there are moments when I talk really fast or what have you. There are fluctuations in the pitch and tone of my voice. I apologize. That's just the way that I talk. Um, Also, I have a tendency to read words that aren't there. I don't know what that's called. Sometimes I guess when I'm going too fast, I'll fill in what I want the article to say instead of what it really says. So I don't want y'all kikiing and ha-haing about me doing that. Okay. It's just something that I do. So, just go with your girl and, go with it. All right. The article says last Sunday morning, Lauren and her partner Robin woke early expecting a busy day. There were holiday lights to put up. A buyer was coming for their basement freezer. So this is a couple, everyday living. They're getting ready for Christmas or whatever in good spirits. And they want to take their two sons to a parade. So it says that they were taking Lauren's two sons, I'm not going to say their names, to watch the high school marching band floats, cheer squads, and dancing grannies at the Waukesha Christmas parade. The parade had been canceled in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. Okay. It says now the event's return seemed a hopeful sign. Traditions had been resurrected. Robin, however, was apprehensive about going to this event. The article says that she's a 37-year-old with a bachelor's degree, but she had a weird feeling about going to the parade. Okay. She was fearful that due to how big of an event it was a potential for violence, and she just was not feeling like going. Okay. So it says almost a year had passed, and authorities were still arresting people from all over the country in connection with the deadly January 6th riot at the Capitol. Okay. The divisive trial of Kyle Wittenhouse on charges of shooting three people during last summer's racial unrest in Kenosha had just ended in acquittal. From the beginning, it had seemed certain that whatever the verdict, half the country would be furious. Are you sure we should go? Robin asked Lauren, but her partner and the boys had been looking forward to the parade. So Robin kept her doubts to herself. She even tried to muster holiday cheer, stringing lights around the outside of their house and through the bushes in the front yard. She felt the air cooling. A wind had just picked up. You see, I just added just. It don't say just anywhere. Lauren, 40 years old, drove the mile and a half from their home to the parade route around 2 p.m., 2 hours before the start, and set up a 4 chairs. Many spectators had already staked out positions along Main Street. Lauren realized it would be crowded and that they'd had to park at least a couple of blocks away. All right. My nerves, y'all, this story, Jesus. The Christmas parade, November 21st, will be Waukesha's 58th. The event's webpage listed more than a dozen sponsors and offered a holiday wish, comfort, and joy. A Girl Scouts group will be marching along with sports clubs, businesses, high schools, Carroll University, and of course, the justifiably famous Milwaukee Dancing Grannies. Virginia Jeannie Sorensen had been with the Dancing Grannies for 19 of her 79 years. She was as committed as they came, bad back and all. She would be near the back of the group holding a banner. Tamara Duran, a mere 52, was young enough to be Sorensen's daughter. She was making her debut with the Grannies. Behind the Grannies in the parade order would be the Citizens Bank float. Walking beside the float would be Jane Coolidge, a 52-year-old teller at the bank who was a mother and grandmother herself. Previously, Coolidge had worked as a caregiver for Visiting Angels, a group that provides in home care for seniors. A few minutes before 4, Lauren and Robin, also the boys, found a parking spot a couple of blocks from the parade route. Crowds already lined Main Street in front of their familiar landmarks: People's Park Restaurant, the Steamy Cup Coffee Shop, and Five Points Pub. The wind had knocked over their chairs, and the section of the new route felt too crowded. So Lauren and Robin moved to a new spot half a block down the route. They were in front of a little driveway leading to Realty Executives. Right on time, the first marchers passed carrying the banner. Lauren had filled a thermos with hot chocolate for the boys. Some of the marchers were throwing candy, and a little boy offered Lauren's son some of the handful he gathered. Oh, man. Okay. I'm sorry. At 4 p.m., Amy Zossel, an emergency medicine specialist for, is that Freuder Hospital? Now, y'all, Freuder Hospital is where Daryl Don Woods works. She works there as a nursing assistant. How ironic. At 4 p.m., Amy Zossel, an emergency medicine specialist for Freuder Hospital and the Medical College of Wisconsin, arrived at the hospital for the start of her shift. She asked colleagues how the day had gone so far. There's a superstition at the hospital, as there is among many of the agencies that deal with disasters. Never say a day has been slow. Never. Instead, Zossel's colleagues told her it had been kind of quiet. The patient volume had been pretty low. Sa- I'm not going to say all of the names, but the nurse manager of the emergency department said that. The same could be said for ProHealth Waukesha Memorial Hospital, a little more than a mile from the start of the parade. The hospital's emergency department has been absolutely packed for most of the year. Many hospitals in Wisconsin and around the nation had been strained due to the periodic surges of the virus. These patients had been sicker and stayed longer than other patients, putting pressure on emergency departments. It was another complicated day. We were boarding patients in the ER because everything's full. So just imagine one hospital, excuse me, it was quote unquote slow. Gosh, I'm so sorry. The second hospital, they were the census was high. I'll say it that way, meaning that there were a lot of patients in the hospital. We know with the C virus, a lot of patients were in the ICU, and eventually some of them made it to step down units and then to just like a general floor or what have you. They're saying that it was already overpopulated, so much so that they had to start caring for patients in the emergency room. Emergency room is just for like a quick, acute illness, if you will. And if they feel that you need more care or maybe a longer observation, they'll transfer you to another floor. But in this case, they had patients who needed that particular care who were in the emergency room, and so basically, they didn't have the room to admit anybody, be it an emergency or anything else. So keep that in mind. Over at Children's Wisconsin Hospital, the main emergency department was completely full, and patients were arriving with the usual assortment of weekend injuries, such as broken bones, lacerations, respiratory problems. Children were waiting up to 1 hour to be seen. Okay. So that's already a hectic environment. If any of you are parents or you have nieces and nephews, you work with children, you know, excuse me, when a child is sick, okay, they're very whiny, they're very impatient. Children already aren't good communicators. And so a child being sick enough to have to go to the emergency room is already a stressful situation. Okay. And they're having to wait up until an hour to be seen. So paint that picture. So you got the children's hospital that's crowded with, your common injuries and ailments, and then you have the other hospital that is already at capacity with seeing patients in both the ED, observation units, and other floors. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me take a sip of water. Hold on. Okay. About 35 minutes into the parade, a voice came over the Waukesha police radio, reporting of two people fighting around White Rock School. We know that's Erica, Darrell, Corey, and Nick. One third of the way, Waukesha Police Detective Tom Casey was working traffic control at the staging area for the parade when he heard a horn honking. The detective stared up White Rock Avenue and watched the waiting crowd of parade participants part, making way for a red Ford Escape. The Escape was bearing down on the detective and on marchers just starting the parade route. Casey stepped into the driver's path, pounding on the hood. "Stop," the detective ordered. The driver slowed but ignored the command, steering the SUV to the right so that it brushed back Casey and entered the parade route. Yelling, "Stop, stop," the detective pounded his fist against the driver's window. But the SUV kept going, passing marchers. As Casey gave chase, the driver sped up. Okay. By the radio, Casey informed officers that the red Ford Escape had entered the parade. He put out an urgent call for squad cars. About 3 blocks away at the intersection of West Main and North Barstow streets, the driver of the Escape braked for a moment. Okay. So this is where they found intent. Okay. In court, you don't have to prove motive. We want the intent. So you took the time to brake. I'm more than positive. I am more than positive Detective Casey would have just opened up a barricade and let you turn down another street to get out of there. So I want to know what your mother is talking about when she says that You didn't mean to hurt nobody. Okay. When you press your foot down on that brake, what was in your head? What was it? You would have been better off fleeing the scene, okay, and dealing with that than committing this murder. Officer Boutron thought the driver was about to stop, then turn right on Barstow and exit the parade route. They would have given you an opportunity to exit the parade route. Then Boutron heard the SUV's tires squeal, meaning that you accelerated your vehicle. He accelerated the vehicle straight into the parade marchers. Frantic calls burst from the radio. There is a car going westbound, pushing parade goers down. A red escape. Could not stop it. Then a male voice shouting for an ambulance. Gasper and Maine. The same voice, now breathless. We have multiple casualties. Maine and Gasper. We need multiple ambulances. Half a mile farther down the parade route, a whimsical little tow truck passed Robin and Lauren and the boys. Oh, isn't that cute? Lauren said, thinking the truck resembled the character Mater from the computer animated movie Cars. Suddenly, to her right came a chorus of screams. Lauren and Robin turned abruptly. They saw the red SUV weaving in and out of the parade marchers, veering from one side of the street to the other. I saw three bodies, boom, 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 all fall into the air, Robin said. Then thump, 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 landing. I didn't realize in that split second what had happened. The SUV must be part of the parade, she remembers thinking. Maybe the driver had lost control. Lauren stared at the SUV, and it looked to be heading straight toward her and her family. It was only 15 feet away. She could see the driver's face. His eyes were focused straight ahead. I was scared shitless, for lack of a better word, she said. For a few seconds, everything went silent, Robin said. It felt as if time stopped. Then ear splitting screams, legs rushing past, chairs toppling. In the street, an awful stillness, blood pooling silently around motionless bodies. Lauren's arms reached out instinctively, hands grabbing her two sons, legs in full flight, heading away from the street, away from the shattered parade. Oh, God. In the same moment, Robin bolted in the opposite direction onto a roadway strewn with bodies. Her mind kept telling her this can't be real, but her nursing instincts had already determined that it was. Ahead of her, she saw a body, a body, a body, a body, she said. Lauren and her sons raced into the small parking lot beside Realty Executive. They found themselves against a brick wall. I just saw that car hit that person and they flew off of the hood, Everett said. I'm not sure who Everett is. Why would somebody do that? Oh, Everett is her son. Oh, Jesus. Why would someone do that, Tatum? The 7-year-old was crying. Mercy. Lauren and Robin, together for 4 years, are engaged to be married. They know each other well enough that Lauren, who was not surprised to see her partner sprint away from her toward the injured. That's just who she is, Lauren told herself. Excuse me. Robin reached the body of a middle aged man. Now, I'm going to stop here. If you guys are feeling overwhelmed by this information, please stop watching the video. It gets a little gruesome. Please protect your mental health. I do appreciate you guys for supporting me, but I don't want anyone to feel like they have to listen to this. You don't. Your mental health is far more important than me and this article. Okay. So log off. Don't listen. It goes into great detail from this point on out. Robin reached the body of a middle aged man. He was laying on his back, face up, eyes open, and fixed on the darkening sky. He looked dazed. She saw blood spreading out from the back of his head. "What day is it?" she asked. "Sunday," he said. She asked his name, and he told her. She asked what year he was born, and again he answered. Finally, she said, "Are you hurt?" "No," he said. "No, no, nope." She told him not to move and covered his body with a blanket. Someone passed her towels, and she slipped them gently under his head. There was a girl on the ground beside the middle aged man. Their heads were almost touching. The girl's eyes were open, but when Robin pointed her cell phone light at them, the pupils did not move. Later, Robin would guess that the girl was between 10 and 14, but at the time it had never crossed her mind. The girl appeared to have had head trauma. There was an abrasion on the side of her eye. Blood was beginning to seep into both eyes. A woman screamed madly, and Robin asked her to calm down. She turned back to the girl. When Robin asked the same questions she posed to the injured man, the girl said nothing. Her breathing was labored. Robin held the girl's hand and then placed her right hand over the child's chest. The girl's eyes kept closing. "It's going to be okay," Robin told her. "I'm right here. You need to keep your eyes open. I'm not going anywhere." She pulled a blanket over the girl. Robin kept thinking how cold and windy it was and how much colder it must feel for the people who lay injured. Two other women crouched down to help the girl. "Stay with her," Robin told them. "I'll be right back." Give me a second, please. Okay. At the realty office, Lauren and her sons stood against the wall inside, spellbound for what felt like minutes. Then someone opened the office door, and Lauren and her sons and other traumatized individuals rushed inside. Lauren told the boys to stay put, and she dashed back to the chairs by the street and retrieved Robin's work and personal cell phones. The realty office filled with students from Catholic Memorial High School, many crying into cell phones as they contacted parents and friends. At 4:46, Lauren texted the father of her two sons. "Hey, we just saw the scariest thing at the parade. A car whipped through the crowd and hit multiple people. It was horrific." "Wow, are the boys okay? Was it fast and how far away from you was it?" The father texts back. She assured him they were all safe, though she could not see Robin. Neither Lauren nor Robin knew that further down Main Street, the red Escape approached the Wisconsin Avenue intersection, still running over pedestrians. A desperate Waukesha officer fired his gun, hitting the Escape 3 times. At Froidert Hospital, the quiet day ended with a phone call. A nurse told Zasil, I think that's how you pronounce it, that a doctor had called from the Christmas parade where he'd been off duty watching his daughter march. Now he was searching for her. There had been a mass casualty event. Zasil called the doctor. He still hadn't found his daughter. His voice was frantic, breathless. He said there were maybe 30 to 40 people injured. "I'm coming to help as soon as I find my daughter," said the doctor, who asked not to be named. "Don't come in," Zossel said. Then she heard the doctor say, "Okay, I found her. She's safe. I'm coming in to help." Zossel told him, "You're totally fine to go home and be with your family." The doctor would not hear of it. He was on his way in. Words of the disaster spread quickly to area hospitals. Though the initial information was vague and confusing, there had been a shooting, a car running into the parade, or both. Emergency department nurses from Pro Health Waukesha Memorial Hospital had been at the parade and phoned to alert their colleagues just over a mile away. A mass casualty event had taken place. 2, maybe 3 minutes after the calls, the first patient arrived. Pro Health Waukesha would receive 33 more. Now let's think about this for a second. Okay. Your average emergency room can only see maybe 5 patients at a time, and they have to do something called triage, right? Based on acuity. So let's just say they have to figure out who has the most severe injury out of all of these 33 people that arrive. And they have to figure out who is on call, who is already there, who they can get to come in to maybe perform emergency surgeries. And it's not just the surgeons that they have to make sure are in place to do this, okay? You have respiratory therapists that need to be there. You need a cold team to be there. You need blood bank to be there. You need technologists to be there. You need all of these people that need to come together, nurses that they need to possibly call in to come together and work through this tragedy, okay? 33 individuals. It's only so many surgery rooms, operating rooms that a hospital has. There are only so many beds that a hospital has, okay? I cannot imagine. Many arrived in the back seats of police cars or other vehicles. Some arrived in ambulances. In the earliest moments of the disaster, there wasn't time for triage. See? The process of grouping casualties according to the urgency of their needs. Okay? So that would be head injuries, people that are bleeding out. Okay? You have to start there. You have to check airway, ABC, airway, breathing, circulation. Who's there and unable to breathe? Is the airway obstructed? We need to clear that. Okay. Who needs ventilation? Okay. That's first and foremost. Next, we're going to move down to the ones that may have head injuries, bleeding out. Was anybody actually shot? Nobody knows. Okay. Those are your most severe. Who's unconscious at this point? You can't get it, and it says you can't get no information about them. You have no advance warning, right? So it's not like they're using their devices to try to call in more ambulances, more police personnel, keep in touch with 911, contact other um, cities and counties for their assistance. And so they don't have the time to call in as you would normally, a person en route to the hospital. They don't have time to call in injuries. Okay. So if a person who is injured in this parade is in the backseat of a police car, police are not trained um in emergency. They're trained in emergency medicine as far as CPR, and that's it. They don't treat, severe injuries, so they know how to stop bleeding, they know CPR. That's enough to try to keep you alive while en route to the hospital. Okay. So if somebody's unconscious or somebody's bleeding out or it's a child, they can't tell to you what happened. They're scared, they're unable to communicate that to you. So it is the job of the hospital now to not only triage from the most severe to the least serious, but you also have to figure out, you don't know if this person has any allergies to medication. especially emergency medications, epi, lidocaine. You don't know that at all. You don't know their blood type. Okay, so now you gotta go to blood bank and see if they have O positive blood, which is the universal donor. Okay, to give to people that are bleeding out. All of these things that they have to try to process in such a short amount of time. Not to mention the hospital is still under C protocol. Okay, there's limited beds. They're probably short staffed, okay? It says, "They came in so fast, there was no break in the action. As fast as you could hold on, as fast as you could get people out of vehicles, they kept arriving." Schultz and the other medical staff treating the patients focused on two priorities, see? Airways, bleeding. That's all you can do at this time. Airway, breathing. You're going to stabilize those patients first. Make sure they're okay. Sit them to the side so you can get to the next couple of patients. That's all they can do. Okay, it says through the door you had severe head trauma, broken arms, legs, trauma to the chest and abdomen. Trauma to the chest and abdomen are very, very, very serious. You got heart, you got lungs, you got spleen. You don't want your spleen to bleed out. Okay. Behind the scenes, hospital staff move patients from the emergency department who do not, I'm sorry. Behind the scenes, the hospital staff move patients from the emergency department who did not need to be there. So people who are already in the emergency room for maybe, I don't know, any kind of symptom, something minor, they got to get them out of there to make room for these new people who have these great injuries to get care. Units all over the hospital were taking on these patients so that space could be cleared for the parade casualties. Of the other 34 patients that ProHealth Waukesha untimely received, or ultimately received, I'm sorry, here I go, reading ahead of myself. Let me start over. Of the 34 patients that ProHealth Waukesha ultimately received, one was dead on arrival. One arrived wearing a tourniquet, a device used to stem the flow of blood from a severe arm or leg injury. The sickest patients were unconscious. Some were actively seizing. Aurora Summit Medical Center, 15 miles from the parade, was extremely full that Sunday, even before doctors received word of the disaster at the Christmas parade. So now you have another hospital system that is probably a trauma one hospital that is already full, probably to capacity. And so I'm assuming that they probably will have to help in some type of way. Let's read on. There were C-19 patients. Yep. Plus, it was deer hunting season, and the hospital was treating victims of accidental shootings and falls from tree stands. Okay. So there was another individual who was picking up his daughter from a tennis lesson when he received the mass casualty notice. It's something you spend a good portion of your professional life getting ready to manage, but at the same time, you hope it doesn't occur because it means something horrific has happened. As he drove his daughter home, his mind was already at the hospital, running through scenarios for possible injuries. He too had been told to expect either a possible shooting or a possible incident of a vehicle hitting pedestrians. The two cause very different injuries. Shootings leave doctors treating patients with penetrating wounds. They need to reach operating rooms quickly. A car hitting people causes blunt trauma to injuries that must be handled more conservatively. Some of the most serious injuries are internal and not immediately obvious. So that would be, let's just say, if a main artery was torn or ruptured, or there's a broken bone that possibly ruptured an artery, and the person is bleeding out. That does not show immediately unless the person is maybe vomiting blood. But if you're bleeding internally, You won't know until you're on that operating table, okay? But there was no difference between these injuries and ones that typically result from being hit by a car. Usually, a car's driver has hit the brakes before striking victims, at least slowing the vehicles and reducing the impact. There is no indication that happened. Within hours, the hospital had four surgeries. Within the first hours, the hospital had four surgeries underway simultaneously. Four surgeries. Now, remember what I told you with surgeries. It's not just the operating physician and maybe two or three assistants. Okay. There are teams that have to be on standby for surgery, especially if this person is bleeding internally. They're going to need blood bank because they're going to need a transfusion. Okay. Um, Lisa Hines, who is a nurse and trauma program coordinator at Aurora Summit Hospital, was to have had Sunday off, but received a mass casualty call as she and her husband sat down to a chili dinner. The hospital holds a mass casualty drill every year, complete with mock patients wearing makeup to simulate their injuries. Although drills cannot fully prepare medical staff for the unexpected, Hines knew she had an experienced crew. Her job was to manage the flow of patients through a 21-bed emergency department. So Aurora Summit Hospital had 21 beds, okay? Only 21. The unit was bustling, but never fell out of control. One physician assisted from the neonatal intensive care unit even volunteered to handle phone calls from relatives of the injured. At Children's Wisconsin Hospital, 14 miles from the scene, officials were told to expect as many as 45 patients. Still, they had some time to prepare. Most of the 18 parade patients they would treat that evening had been taken to other hospitals first and then referred to Children's. So remember, I told you earlier that this hospital, they already had a lot of patients there, and the wait was an hour. So can you imagine those patients, those little children who were already waiting an hour? Now their treatment is going to be further delayed because we have more patients coming. Okay, keep that in mind. Amy Dwindle, medical director of emergency medicine and a professor at the Medical College of Wisconsin, studied the board listing all of the emergency room patients, calculating who could be moved and where. They needed to free up emergency beds. So now it's three or four hospitals trying to coordinate care. They're trying to figure out, where can I send this person? We have X amount of beds, we have X amount of doctors, we have surgeons here if needed. Where can we send, this group of people maybe that have less severe injuries so that they can get treated at, a reasonable amount of time? Or, if you have patients that have those head injuries, neck injuries, you know, that aren't life threatening but still need immediate care, can they come here? Can they go there? Where can we send them? So all of this is going on behind the scenes while his mama is on the phone with 911 lying and saying that he stole that car. His ass is running, trying to call his mama to get him out of there. And she got the gall to say that he didn't mean to hurt nobody. One of the hospitals that is treating some of the participants of the parade is the hospital that she works at. Back on Main Street, Robin went from one injured person to the next. She stopped to help maybe 8, maybe 11 victims in all. Some already had small groups of volunteers huddled around them. Still, she crouched down beside each of the injured, asking her questions, trying to determine conditions. Okay. It got worse, she said. A lot of them couldn't even talk. People were performing CPR on one man. I'm sorry. Police approached the injured, asking volunteers, are they alive? Are they breathing? Do you know CPR? Officers finally were able to triage patients with different colored tags, including red for the most seriously injured and black for the dead. Robin approached one little boy who looked to be about 10 years old and was standing by the body of a woman. The boy was sobbing. The woman did not appear to be bleeding, but may have had broken legs. What's your name? Robin asked. Is this your mom? The boy said it was. Oh my God. We're going to take good care of her, Robin said. In truth, she felt helpless. There was nothing I can do. Most of them had oh Lord. Most of them had head trauma. I just wanted to keep them comfortable and warm and have them know they were not alone. Finally, Robin reunited with Lauren and the boys. Lauren was jolted by the expression on her partner's face, pure fright. The two women and the boys headed home. At 5:28, Robin texted her mother in Slinger. She told her mom that they had been in the middle of an attack. It was all in front of me. I am so thankful to be alive. I have blood on my hands. A little after 5:30, Robin, Lauren, and the boys arrived home. The injured just kept coming. Around 5:53, ambulances pulled up to Froidert, what is this? Menominee Falls Hospital with two patients. The hospital's first. So 5:53, Dawn should have either just now been arriving to work or close to work. This is the hospital where she works. Reports from ambulances had not been detailed. We still didn't know what kind of injuries we were getting. The day shift charge nurse in the emergency room, the day shift charge nurse said that she didn't know what type of injuries they were going to be getting. Night shift charge nurse Courtney had come in early, arriving just 2 minutes before the first ambulance. She went straight to triaging patients. Four arrived by ambulance, a fifth by car. As she worked, hold on. As he worked, Jim forced himself not to imagine the chaotic scene the injured were coming from. Only after he finished work around 7:30 p.m. and returned home did he think about the disaster. It's a parade, he said. It's supposed to be somewhere hundreds of people are enjoying the time together. You can't go anywhere now without having to keep your guard up. Doctors at Froidert and Children's Wisconsin, which are next door to one another, waited for referrals from other hospitals. All staff at Children's were noted to expect a surge in patients. The first of the injured arrived at 5:30. We got 9 critical patients in the first hour and 4 critical patients in the second hour, a specialist in the ED said. That's a lot of critical patients. Yes, it is. 13, yes. The doctors at Children's treated bone fractures, head and abdominal injuries, and road rash, a condition worse than it sounds. Victims of road rash have skidded or had been dragged over the street, ripping off a portion of the top layer of skin. Given the brutal injuries, one of the doctors found one fact remarkable. She cannot remember hearing a single child cry. Oh my. To me, this sounds like if she didn't hear any children crying, they were unconscious. That night, her work included explaining to parents where their children were in the treatment process. whether they were on their way to an operating room or having an MRI taken. Despite all they seen and heard, the mothers and fathers were extremely calm. 6 children from the parade were sent to operating rooms that first evening. Another 2 would go the following day. Doctors at Freuder and Children said the patients referred them arriving having received the highest level of treatment in the field and at their first hospitals. Mm-mm-mm. Exceptional care was provided to these children. At Pro Health Waukesha, Schultz worked for 14 hours. When he returned home, it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. He thought about the numerous members of the medical staff who come in on their days off and those who worked hard, even as they worried about their family and friends who had been at the parade. They had to be wondering, where is my family? Where are my friends? Will one of them be the next patient I see? And so that's another thing that's very touching. These healthcare professionals altogether give their lives to care for others. They work tirelessly to save lives, to comfort. Even if they are afraid, they have to put that to the side and work, no matter how traumatic the situation is. I can't imagine how that feels to know that tragedy at this caliber took place. You don't know if it's a terror attack. You don't know if somebody's just out with a gun firing all over the place. You don't know what's going on. All you know is that there are people coming in from all over the city with these injuries, and you don't know where your family is, where your friends are, if they hurt, if they're alive. Jesus. 5 parade goers died Sunday. The dead included Virginia Jeannie Sorensen, the veteran member of the Dancing Grannies, and Tamara Duran, the rookie. The third member of the group, Leanna Owen, 71, also perished. She had managed an apartment complex and was known among the tenants for her kindness. The Dancing Grannies also lost Wilhelm Hospital, 81, whose wife Lola performed with the group. He was responsible for transportation and he made sure that the dancers had all they needed. The fifth fatality was Jane Coolidge, the 52-year-old teller who had been marching with Citizens Bank behind the Grannies. The causes she cared about most in life were animal welfare, children, and human rights. We almost done, y'all. Sunday evening, Lauren and Robin could not sleep. It was the eyes I looked into, Robin said. The blood, the CPR, the dead. That's why I couldn't sleep. Scenes replayed in Lauren's mind over and over. The SUV swerving. The moment when she looked into the eyes of the driver. I almost felt I could see the way he was moving the steering wheel, she said. Oh my goodness. Robin felt sick on Monday. She couldn't eat and she felt guilty for feeling sick. She remembers thinking, what right do I have to feel bad when other people have lost a parent or a child? Monday evening, both women went to the candlelight vigil at Cutler Park. At that point, authorities said 5 parade goers were dead and more than 60 injured. Police had named the driver, who had been taken into custody, a Milwaukee man named Darrell E. Brooks, 39. Earlier in the month, a woman told police that Brooks purposefully ran over her with his vehicle after a fight. He'd been released from custody in that case. Those were the facts, but they hardly began to cover what had happened. At the vigil, a friend told Lauren that she and her 5-year-old son had seen one of the SUV's top. Again, if anybody is sensitive to um, this type of commentary, if you are just sensitive to casualties and fatalities, protect your mental health, please. At the vigil, a friend told Lauren that she and her 5-year-old son had seen one of the SUV's tires run over a woman's head. On Tuesday, Robin woke up and told herself, "Today is a new day. I'm going to cherish my life. I'm going to go back to work. I need to be distracted. I need to keep on living my life." Still, it was the early days in the recovery. Tuesday evening, Robin, Lauren, and the two boys drove into Milwaukee. There was more news on the radio. A sixth person who'd been struck by the SUV at the Christmas parade was 8. Jackson Sparks, who died. He was marching with his 12-year-old brother, Tucker, representing the Waukesha Blazers baseball team. Jackson was in the 3rd grade. I was going to read another article and play a video, but I can't. Um, yeah. I'm going to stop the video here. I need a minute. I need a minute. Um, I'm not even going to ask you guys to enjoy the video because it's nothing to enjoy. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I need a minute. I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all take care.